David placed his paws against the wall of the cube and leaned in toward me. His nose quivered faster and his voice was gentle now, mockingly gentle and falsely comforting. Look at it this way, Rachel. Living the rest of your life as a rat isn't the worst fate imaginable for you. You'll still be able to fight. Rats are always fighting. Predators, enemies, other rats, it doesn't matter. As long as there's blood, that should be some consolation. I am not some kind of nut. David's gentle tone turned nasty. If you can't be a human bully, you can at least be a rat bully. I'm not a bully. I am not some kind of nut. I know what I'm doing. Sure you are. You loved poking that fork against my head and threatening my family. You got off on terrorizing a poor kid who's basically lost his whole life. If you weren't a bully, you'd have been ashamed of yourself. I had been ashamed of myself, but I still knew where the line is, and I won't cross it. But I never would have tried to kill David if it hadn't been for Jake. You worry about me? What do you think you're going to do, Jake? Jake had sent me to take care of David. He hadn't told me what exactly to do, but he hadn't told me what exactly not to do either. So that was the same as giving me permission to do whatever it took to get the job done, wasn't it?
Forgive us now for what we done. Started out as a bit of fun. Here, take these before we run away. The keys to the gulag.
This video is brought to you by Patreon. Patreon! Help! Wow, only 7 more books. 7 more books and my life ceases to have any meaning. Better make it last. So this book opens with a school field trip to the White House, because that's a thing kids from an obscure school in Southern California get. Right away, you get the feeling that something's off. In the last book, Jake mentioned that they were giving more and more of their class time to the Chi, so them going on a field trip that takes them so far away from the Yeerk pool doesn't seem to be in their MO right now. Also, Tobias is there, flying around outside, even though Rachel's narration gives no indication that they're on a mission. Oh, and Marco's there, even though Marco is legally dead. Out of nowhere, a Dracon beam strikes and seemingly kills Tobias. The Yeerks have begun their open war. This is the second worst thing to happen to this administration. Hork-Bajirs break in and start wrecking the place, so the Animorphs go into combat morph. Rachel gets into a blood rage, partially from combat, partially because Tobias is presumably dead, and she doesn't realize she's getting seriously hurt. Jake tells her to back off, but she bounds after the Yeerks onto the White House lawn, where she sees this. The president was the prize in a serious game of tug-of-war. Secret Service agents inside the helicopter were trying to pull him in. A Hork-Bajir controller was trying to pull him out. This image becomes priceless when you remember that the president in question is Bill Clinton. You know, this really puts things in perspective. So, despite her injuries, Rachel lays waste on the Yeerk troops, and the president escapes in his helicopter. Instead of patting her on the back, however, Jake calls her out for going against his orders. This is a team, Rachel. A team. Do you know what that means? Jake bared the tiger's deadly fangs. Big deal. A grizzly can take a powerful amount of biting. Jake could sink those tiger teeth 3 or 4 inches deep and still not penetrate the shaggy bear coat. This used to be a team, Rachel, but you've turned it into a pack. Okay, have it your way. You want to lead the pack? You're going to have to fight me for control. I'll fight you, I answered, rage making my voice thick. I'm happy to fight you. Thrilled. Looks like it's time for a death battle! Rachel gets in a surprise hit, but she's too weak to keep it up, and Jake pins her while she slowly bleeds to death. Or not, because that's when Rachel wakes up. Yep, it was all a dream. Rachel's quick to realize all those inconsistencies I just pointed out, but even then, this had to have been the most involved and grounded nightmare any of the Animorphs have had throughout the entire series. It took a whole 3 chapters. It kicks the book off with an uneasy tone. Rachel can't shake the bad vibes, and so she decides to go ask Cassie about it, but Cassie's nowhere to be found. So instead, she makes her way to Axe's scoop, where she meets Axe, Marco, and Tobias. Wow! Marco sat up and stared intently at the screen. Look at this, on the net. An I was there first-person account of an alien attack on a nuclear sub. And here's another one. Some guy who doesn't want to be identified. He says he's a human controller whose Yeerk has joined the resistance. It would seem that the human race is about to learn the truth, Axe said thoughtfully. If the Yeerks no longer fear their presence as a secret, this could be the moment they decide to declare open war. Woohoo! I pumped my fist. Woo, apocalypse! I just watched Mad Max Fury Road. Seemed pretty cool. I can't wait for our alien-based destruction. Woo! Awesome! These are some interesting details, how frayed around the edges the Yeerk's secret invasion is becoming, but Rachel's enthusiasm at the idea of open war is rightfully met with some stares and awkward coughs. Look, I said, covert war stinks. It's a nasty, underground kind of thing that screws up your head. Look at what it's done to us. Look at the moral compromises we've had to make. You guys act like I'm some kind of psycho, but all I want is a fair fight. And you can't have a fair fight with an enemy who won't declare war. Oh, Rachel, that's a nice sentiment, but you're forgetting that guerrilla tactics are the only reason you've managed to do any damage at all. There's little a grizzly bear can do against aerial strikes and alien weapons of mass destruction. The others then point out another side of things. It was Marco who broke the silence. I don't think any of us should fool ourselves. If this war is exposed, we're out of it. Axe blinked. What do you mean? Tobias rustled his feathers and tightened his talons on the branch. Because if the armed forces get involved, we'll be pushed aside like some kind of freak show. You know, kids who can do their own stupid pet tricks. I don't know if you guys would be ignored, per se. There's a solid chance they try to capture you and figure out your powers through mad science. But yeah, the Yeerks go to war, then the Animorphs get demoted from Earth's only hope to a handful of oddities. The point here is that no matter what happens, Rachel is not going to get her big hero moment. Whether it's because Jake will hold her back or because full-scale war will push her aside. Rachel wants to be useful, but this is complicated by a very narrow definition of what useful means to her. Rachel blows off the group and goes flying with Tobias, but even Rachel's boyfriend is all like, honestly, I don't really know where you're coming from. Suddenly, Rachel is compelled to fly towards a red light on top of a radio tower, unable to control herself as she crashes into it. And then she wakes up again. Yes, it was a dream within a dream, and Leonardo DiCaprio's top just keeps on spinning. Today's ghostwriter is Kimberly Morris, though the book accidentally miscredits the book to Lisa Harkrader. You may remember Morris as the ghostwriter of number 38, The Arrival, a very solid Andalite book, and I guess Kay Applegate recognized that talent because she went on to write 3 books in the final arc, alternating with the aforementioned Lisa Harkrader up until number 53, The Answer. Morris's work here is equally solid, having to juggle the intersection of 2 returning villains and frame it into the final arc. Though a fair amount of criticism has been leveled at this book for not really progressing the final arc in any meaningful way. And they're not wrong. This book happens in the final arc, but it has even less to do with it than the last book. These last 2 books have been so inconsequential that in the UK, they're actually bundled together. But substantial or not, it's at least better written than number 47, The Resistance. Thankfully, Michael Grant didn't force in a short story about the French Revolution or whatever. Now, the dream within a dream thing is an oft-criticized trope in storytelling, but I think this book does it right. While it's clear that the first part is a dream for any sharp-eyed fans, it's still grounded enough to fool a few people and silly enough to apply dream logic to. Then the second part has no continuity errors and is completely grounded and serious. You have no clue it's a dream until Rachel starts flying into the red light. The dream within a dream thing is a true surprise here. But it's more than just a surprise. By doing this dream within a dream thing, you no longer know what to trust in this book. Is anything we're seeing here real? Well, some of it. Some of this gets referenced in future books. But for the rest of this book, there's a subtle edge of unreality and surrealism that keeps you second-guessing everything that's going on. Is this just another dream? Are these the machinations of one of the cosmic powers? Is Rachel losing it? You can nail down some moments, but not all of them. When Rachel goes to school that morning, she's on edge. Jake seems to act stern around her, and she thinks it's because she disobeyed him at the White House, only to then remember that was all a dream. In English class, they're learning about Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart, a story about a murderer hearing his victim's heartbeat under the floorboards. And because literary parallels are cool, Rachel starts hearing the scratching of rats within the school walls. Rats have been a reoccurring image. Tobias kills a rat in the second dream, a rodent trap kills a rat in Rachel's house, and now this. And when you tie it into the Telltale Heart, it doesn't take much to figure out that this is in some way connected to David, the fallen Animorph. Combine it with more mysterious red lights, and Rachel feels her grip on reality slipping. So she ditches the rest of school, leaving a note in Cassie's locker asking her to meet her in the barn this afternoon. When she gets there, I was about 20 yards from the barn when I heard the scream. Half a second later, Cassie came running out of the barn. About 200 rats streamed behind her. Rats! Ah, great. First the Yeerks and now Willard shows up? That's just dandy. The army of rats chase Cassie and Rachel towards the nearby pond, but when Rachel jumps in, the rats cling to her, weighing her down. Before she can drown, though, she seems to slip into another reality, another level of this twisted dream. She finds herself in a plexiglass cube in a very Phantom of the Opera-esque sewer system. The cube is too small to morph something big, and the floor seems to be covered in some kind of powder that's probably not safe for bugs, so she can't crawl out of the few air holes she's given. Two teenagers, a tall, skinny one with a rat tattoo and a short, fat one with greasy hair, arrive, and they've brought someone with them. Gently, Grease put the rat down on the table or platform, placed it right in front of me, just on the other side of the clear wall of the cube. We were inches apart, me and the rat. It was large, a rat that gazed up at me with a strange intelligence in its little beady eyes. A rat that looked at me as if it knew something important about me. As if it recognized me. I'll kill you, I'll kill you, I'll kill you. One of its own. If you weren't such a harsh person. Of course. Hello, Rachel, said the rat. Did you miss me? So, yes, David is back, still trapped in Ratmorph. He taunts Rachel for a while before explaining how he got off the island. He claims that, after eating Helmet Coal, he got to know his fellow rats on the island and learned that a few of them were smart enough to communicate with. After some time, he learned how to train and lead these rats, and when a group of scientists came to the island to study a species of bird, David and his rat army stowed away on their boat and reached the mainland. From there, David turned his rats into a crime ring, breaking into places and stealing money, one bill at a time, accumulating enough funds to start hiring human goons like Bulk and Skull there. That's all well and comic booky, but David doesn't seem like much of a threat in the grand scheme of things. But then he reveals his ultimate weapon. I'm gonna beat them all, Rachel. The Animorphs. Now, you're probably thinking that's crazy. How can I, a lowly rodent, defeat an experienced gorilla force with alien technology on its side? But let's put this in perspective. If a lowly slug can lead an intergalactic invasion, then surely a pair of rats, one of them a genius, could at least carve out a little kingdom for themselves. In spite of myself, I was curious. How? If you wipe out the host, you can wipe out the Yeerks, or at least scare them off the planet. What are you talking about? I'm talking about plague, Rachel. Bubonic plague. Black death. Rats carry plague, and rats can get in and out of a biological weapons lab with no problem. Labs where there are vials and vials of plague virus. You'd wipe out the whole human race. Well, not all of it, but a large percentage, maybe half. And what's left we can control by threatening more plague. Just think, I, David, a rat, could be the most powerful creature in the world. Armed with one tiny bacterium of bubonic plague and an army of rats, I could be deadlier than a nuclear arsenal. Wow! So basically, David turned into verminous scum from Captain Planet. This is so not Animorphs, it's hilarious. This is like something out of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or maybe even Annie-TV. You know, David, the bubonic plague is still actually a thing that people get infected with every year. The reason you don't hear about it that often is because A, it doesn't spread very far because we've learned some basic hygiene and have better control over flea population. B, it doesn't easily transfer from human host to human host. And C, it can be treated with some basic antibiotics that reduce the mortality rate from 90% to 10%. David controlling an army of plague-infested rats would be a bad thing, don't get me wrong. But no way he's wiping out any substantial percentage of Earth's population. Now, if he said he'd broke into a lab and discovered they were making some kind of super virus like in Stephen King's The Stand, that'd be something else.